Don't cry. It's all better now.
When you hear the word vampire, who comes to mind first? For most people, it's Dracula, the archetypal bloodsucker who's haunted literature and film for over a century. But in 2025, a new name emerged in the vampire pantheon, Remmick, the sinister antagonist of sinners, a film that doesn't just reimagine vampire lore. It weaponizes it to explore cultural trauma, appropriation, and artistic exploitation. This isn't your typical monster showdown. Dracula and Remmick may both crave blood, but their true hunger lies in what they represent. Dracula is a symbol of old-world fears, while Remmick is a haunting reflection of modern systemic evils. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. In this video, we'll explore the key differences between these two iconic monsters, dig into the themes that make them terrifying, and examine why Remmick is the vampire we never knew we were afraid of. So grab your garlic, close the blinds, and let's get into the ultimate vampire face-off. Dracula, the blueprint of horror's aristocratic monster. Let's start with the original Prince of Darkness. First introduced in Bram Stoker's 1897 novel, Dracula was never just a monster. He was a manifestation of Victorian-era fears. The pale foreign count from Transylvania threatened English purity, infected innocent women with strange desires, and defied natural death. In short, Dracula was everything the British Empire feared: foreign, seductive, and uncontrollable. Over time, Dracula evolved from a stiff literary figure to an iconic horror legend, reimagined in dozens of forms. From Bela Lugosi's velvet voice to Gary Oldman's gothic romance and even Marvel's monstrous versions. He's seductive, charming, deadly, yet always clinging to the old world's rules. Bite, turn, control, repeat. Dracula's core fear is disruption. He's an outsider trying to infiltrate and consume a dominant culture.
I am your way out.
Enter Remmick, the vampire who consumes souls, not just blood. Now let's talk about Remmick in Sinners, 2025. Directed by Ryan Coogler, Remmick isn't an ancient count hiding in a castle. He's a nomadic Irish immigrant vampire leading a gang of supernatural predators through 1930s Mississippi. This isn't just a geographical change, it's a cultural revolution. Remmick isn't hunting out of survival. He's chasing something deeper, spiritual power. Specifically, he wants the essence embedded in black blues music, the pain, the artistry, the connection to ancestors. He believes Sammy, the film's protagonist and a gifted musician, can channel that energy and open a doorway to the spirit world. Unlike Dracula, Remmick doesn't want to dominate the world. He wants to appropriate it, package its soul, and use it for his own twisted redemption.
We gonna kill every last one of you.
Remmicks Horror is modern, and personal Remmick is terrifying, not because he's powerful, but because he's familiar. He's the gentrifier, the appropriator, the well-meaning colonizer who loves the culture, but ignores the people who created it. His desire to consume goes beyond blood. It's about control over memory, identity, and legacy. In a pivotal scene, Remmick offers Sammy immortality, not through vampirism alone, but through collaboration. Your music can bring them back, he says, referring to the ancestors Sammy's blues channel. It's tempting, but it's a lie. Remmick doesn't want to share power. He wants to extract it. This is the brilliance of Sinners. Remmick is a vampire of culture, not just flesh. Dracula versus Remmick. Who's the real monster here? Let's get into the showdown. On the surface, they're both vampires, but dig a little deeper and you'll see they're playing very different games. Origins and symbolism. Dracula crawled out of European folklore, cloaked in fears of the other, foreign invaders, crumbling empires, and the fall of polite society. He's all about old-school horror. Think castles, crosses, and aristocrats clutching their pearls. Remmick, he's born from something way more modern and more personal. He's shaped by American racism, cultural appropriation, and the lingering trauma of colonialism. He's not just here to feed, he's here to steal history and rewrite it in his own image. Motivations. Dracula wants the usual: power, control, immortality. He seduces, bites, dominates. Classic. Remmick's a different beast. He's not just looking for blood, he's after meaning. He wants to feel something real again, to reconnect with a community he can never truly be part of. And the way he thinks he can do that? By draining the soul out of black culture and claiming it as his own. Who they target. Dracula usually sets his sights on high society types, pure virginal women, aristocrats, the untouched. It's about corrupting the ideal. Remmick, on the other hand, goes straight for the heart of pain and genius. Black blues musicians, the people who've turned suffering into something transcendent. His victims aren't just people, they're keepers of memory, legacy, and resistance. How they work. Dracula uses charm and class to mask his cruelty. He's hypnotic, seductive, and just refined, enough to make you second-guess yourself as he drains you dry. Remmick doesn't bother with charm. He manipulates, plays the long game. He tells you he loves your voice, your art, your story, and then twists it, sells it, claims it. He's the guy who says, "I just want to help you share your gift," while quietly stealing your soul. Remmick doesn't seduce, he co-ops. He convinces his victims they'll finally be seen and heard, then makes sure they never are again.
I can save you from your fate.
You don't need no saving.
Yes, you do.
Power play. How Dracula and Remmick use their supernatural strengths, but for very different reasons. When it comes to powers, both Dracula and Remmick are packing a serious punch, but how they use their abilities couldn't be more different. Dracula, he's all about the classic vampire moves, hypnotism, shape-shifting, and of course, the ability to turn into a bat or mist. His powers are all about control. He's the charming predator, using his hypnotic abilities to manipulate and dominate his victims, slowly bending them to his will. Remmick, on the other hand, doesn't waste time with the traditional tricks. His strength lies in his ability to manipulate emotions and exploit the weak spots in people's dreams. He doesn't need to turn into a bat, he turns into a dream. His power comes from convincing people they can achieve immortality through him, or that they'll finally be heard. He plays on their hopes rather than their fears, and that makes him even more dangerous. So while Dracula is working his magic to control, Remmick's working to exploit. One vampire makes you feel powerless with fear, while the other makes you feel powerful, only to steal everything that makes you unique. What vampires really say about us, then versus now. So why even compare vampires like Dracula and Remmick? Because vampires have always been more than just monsters. They're mirrors. They reflect what we're really afraid of in any given era. Back in the late 1800s, people were terrified of outsiders, sexuality, and the collapse of polite society. Enter Dracula, the seductive, foreign aristocrat who symbolized everything Victorian England was trying to suppress. Fast forward to today, and our fears have shifted. It's not castles and cloaks that scare us, it's cultural erasure, gentrification, and the theft of identity. And that's where Remmick comes in. He's not breaking down your door with fangs out. He's already inside, smiling, complimenting your art, while planning to sell it back to the world without your name on it. That's what makes Sinners so sharp. It updates the vampire myth for the modern age. Dracula was the monster outside the gates. Remmick is the monster already at your table, asking for seconds.
Pick, pour, I've been clean. Pick, pour, I've been clean.
Music is magic, and target what makes Sinners even more unique is how music becomes both a weapon and a vulnerability. Sammy's guitar isn't just an instrument, it's a spiritual conduit. Blues, in this story, is sacred. It carries generational memory, pain, power. Remmick doesn't want to play the blues. He wants to steal its magic. This flips the traditional vampire trope on its head. In most stories, vampires drain blood. Here, Remmick drains creativity. He wants to own what he can never truly create. Final confrontation, breaking the cycle. The climax of Sinners isn't just a battle of good versus evil. It's a rejection of spiritual colonization. Sammy, offered immortality and fame, smashes his guitar, the very tool Remmick seeks to weaponize, over Remmick's head. It's an act of defiance, a refusal to let his legacy be hijacked. But it's Smoke, a quiet, resilient character who delivers the final blow, staking Remmick and ending his parasitic reign. Why Smoke? Because she represents community, resistance, and the quiet power of those who remember. Her action isn't about revenge, it's about protection.
I am your way out.
Why Remmick is the vampire. For our time, Dracula will always be iconic, but Remmick is relevant. He's the influencer profiting off stolen trends. He's the record executive marketing pain for profit. He's the academic quoting your trauma while ignoring your voice. And that's what makes him scarier than Dracula. He wears the mask of admiration while draining your soul.
I ain't ever seen no demons.
The legacy of vampires and what comes next. What Sinners teaches us is that horror evolves. Vampires aren't just fantasy creatures, they're social commentary. They adapt to the fears of the moment. Dracula terrified a world afraid of losing control to outsiders. Remmick terrifies a world where people are fighting to hold on to what's left of their cultural identity. And as long as those fears evolve, so too will the monsters we create. Our nerdy thoughts. So who's the darker vampire? Dracula, the ancient count feeding on innocence and order? Or Remmick, the modern monster who drains history, spirit, and soul? Maybe the real question is, which one is closer to reality today? If you enjoyed this deep dive into horror's darkest vampires, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments who would win, Remmick or Dracula? And what other monsters should we break down next? Thanks for watching. And remember, it's not just what the vampire takes, it's what they leave behind.